If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
DJ PK and Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN, joining us. Greg, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I just drove back last night from Philadelphia, and I mentioned that because the Flyers are an inexperienced playoff team that had to learn how to close out their opponents.
Nice.
I don't know if that's relevant to the Mammoth.
I see where you're going.
But I think you do know, Greg. That's why you couldn't wait to blurt that out.
Yeah,
they've had the lead in the third period of every game, and yet they trail 3-2. So I guess the first question is, in the East Coast, are people even staying up and watching this? I mean, games are ending at midnight here, so it's 2 a.m. there. How much are people even aware on that side of the country of what's going on over here?
Well, I can say as a guy who likes to have a beer after a game, I've definitely watched at least one of these games in the lobby of a Marriott. I don't know how many people are staying up to watch, but I think if they aren't, then they're missing one of the most entertaining series in the league right now. Not only because of the speed and the enthusiasm with which the Mammoth play, but also just seeing this cagey veteran Golden Knights team refusing to go down quietly against an opponent that's definitely an upstart. I think it's been one of the more compelling series. It's certainly been one of the more dramatic series based on what we've seen in the last 2 games with the overtimes. So I'm hoping my friends on the East Coast have decided to brew a little espresso at like 11 at night to stay up for these games because they've been awesome.
Well, Greg, you're on the DJ and PK show, and I'm the PK version of it, and you don't know this, but you're about to know it. You're one of my brothers because you're a Monmouth County guy. I was born in Essex and raised in Morris, so it's good to have you on, brother.
That is beautiful. Central, for those who don't know, there's a lot of controversies in New Jersey. One of them is, does Central New Jersey exist? The people in the north believe that it is all south below them. The people in the south believe it is all north above them. The people who grew up in Monmouth County, New Jersey, know that there's a beautiful band of the most beautiful, smartest people in New Jersey called Central New Jersey, and that's where we're from.
Yeah, Central always gets it because you got Princeton in there and whatnot. It always is and Trenton. It is the smartest of the 3 distinct areas, the 3 divisions that we have in that state. So I've been telling some of my cousins, you got to watch this Mammoth team. Was texting last night. It is on late, but, it's fun. It's fun for us to have something. The Jazz obviously have not been in the position to be a playoff team. We'll see what they do next year. And so now we've been able to focus on this in only the second year, and it's really cool. And I think that one of the things I was going to use the very word you said, upstart, and I think that's exactly what the Mammoth are. And I just think that Vegas right now is a sliver better, probably going to win the series, maybe even win it 4-3. And if you go big picture, some progress is made for the Mammoth. I think you would agree.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see about the result. I'll get to that in a second. But, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the kind of season you have to have when you're a team on the rise as a contender. And, I mean, the excitement is to see what Dylan Guenther does in the playoffs, to see Logan Cooley making plays, to see, a lot of these players kind of elevate their games to the right time. And to know that it's just the beginning, to know that, Ryan and Ashley Smith are obviously, I've already shown a propensity for wanting to spend and make this team even better. And I think Bill Armstrong has shown slowly but surely a propensity for dealing away maybe some of those assets that he's built over the last several seasons to improve the roster. But then again, on the same note, and I've talked to Bill about this myself, there's an entire pipeline of players we haven't even seen yet come up with the Mammoth, and that could easily be the next wave that really pushes this team to cup contention. But I don't know, it's 2 overtime games. It's a hard education about how to close out an opponent. I don't think they're done. I will say that they need more from Vejmelka, if I'm being honest with you. I think if you look at the underlying numbers in the last 2 games, he's been in the negative insofar as goals saved above expected. The bad news for the Mammoth is that Carter Hart had his best game of the series, I thought, last night. So if the goaltending is all of a sudden trending in the Golden Knights' direction, where I think that was clearly their Achilles heel, that might be bad news for Utah.
Okay, he had 2 face saves, so there's an expression in soccer, he knew nothing about it. You make the right play, but you're lucky you made the right play. He knew nothing about it. I think when you're making face saves, you knew nothing about it. Did he catch some breaks there, or he really is getting dialed in, and that's the way it goes when you're red hot, so that's part of the deal.
You got to put your face in the right spot to get hit. I mean, that's the key, right? So,
okay,
I mean, listen,
I've done that in fights many times.
Yeah, there's an incredible amount of luck to be a good goaltender in this league and to have a winning performance in this league. But there is something to be said. I mean, on the I believe it was the game tying goal last night, there was a whole debate on television about whether Vejmelka slid too far in trying to stop the one timer from Eichel and this whole thing. And so, it is, as they say, a game of inches, and sometimes a little mistake here or there from a goalie can add up to being a big problem for your team. Again, it's not to say that Carroll's played poorly. I mean, obviously, Vejmelka's, I think, one of the big reasons why they're in the position that they're in right now in this series. But I thought the last 2 games could have been a little bit better, and obviously the results sort of dictate that.
Statistics stink on the power play for the Mammoth, and obviously that came back to bite them in a Game 5 big time. What can they do, what do you think, to be able to be better in that situation, those situations?
Yeah, I mean, power plays are a tricky thing in the postseason. You get into a bit of a rut, and then things kind of snowball a little bit. I mean, they are going up against a Vegas Golden Knights team that was tied for 6th in the NHL in penalty kill during the regular season. So it's not as if they're playing a team that doesn't know how to kill a penalty, and they certainly have some veteran guys that have done this before in the playoffs. But I think overall you don't want to be overly reliant on your power play anyway in the playoffs. I think the playoffs are won at 5-on-5. But clearly, at this point, we could say that you'd like to have them get a little bit more out of it. Still clicking, pretty well in the penalty kill, but to have a power play that's only clicking at 7% in the playoffs is pretty embarrassing at this point.
They've been giving up late goals, big goals, momentum-changing goals right before they go into the locker room, before the intermission. And when they try to find a common thread, it seems like they're giving away the puck in some really bad places on the ice. Vejmelka on the 3rd goal, on the boards behind the goal, he seemed really indecisive. Where was he going with that? Sergachev had a pass back he wants earlier in the series. When you look at the issues they're having defensively, because the games they've won, they give up 2 goals. When they give up 4 goals or more, they're 0-3 in this series. And if they're going to give up fewer goals, it seems it comes down to the decisions they make when they have the puck are leading directly to goals.
Yeah, and also the Golden Knights are a team that's pretty adept at forcing the issue when it comes to turnovers. I mean, I think when you look at Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, and Mitch Marner, to name 3 guys, these are some of the best two-way players in the league at forward position, 200-foot players, as they say. So they're a team that preys on those mistakes, and that's why you can't make them. But, it kind of goes back to the beginning of our conversation. I mean, if there's one common theme in the first round of these Stanley Cup playoffs, it's inexperienced teams trying to figure out how to close out their opponents. And part of that is knowing how to manage the puck. Part of that is not making the wrong decision. Part of that is not squeezing your stick at the wrong time. And we've seen Philly, allow the Penguins to come back in the series before they closed it out. We've seen Buffalo struggle to close out Boston. We've seen the Ducks blow an opportunity to close out Connor McDavid and the Oilers. Like on and on and on, these young teams that don't have the playoff experience quite yet are finding out what it takes to win these games. And ultimately, like you said, whether it's this playoff or future playoffs, this is going to be all beneficial to the Mammoth and their young stars. But hopefully in the short term, what's happened in the last couple of games can kind of set them on the right course to still win this series.
Yeah, so we'll, as you brought up with the Philly situation, we'll monitor that and sort of look to them. We did it with these situations, small market teams in the NBA, a little bit different, but, we follow them and how they've built Oklahoma City, and the Jazz are trying to do that. And so will you bringing up Philly, I think, is an idea for us and our fan base and our listener audience to see what they can do and see if that can be replicated here locally. And then I saw you sort of did a big picture thing on Pittsburgh, and I looked at it, and then I went on to X, I guess they call it now, Twitter, and I wanted to get your comment on this. You probably saw this. Penguins Jesus. Greg, I don't say this enough. Penguin fans don't really like you. Never have, never will. We have all of the receipts.
Penguins fans, it's a first of all, it was a joy to cover the Battle of Pennsylvania because, like, you talk about some great playoff atmospheres. Obviously, we've seen them at Delta Center. We saw them in Buffalo. That Game 3 between the Flyers and the Penguins, where they're chanting derogatory chants in Philadelphia about Sidney Crosby an hour before the puck drops, is just like, that's playoff hockey right there. That's a beautiful thing. But in covering the Penguins, I mean, the overriding theme last night after the game was like, what's next? I mean, they clearly outkicked their coverage in making the playoffs this season. I don't think a lot of people had the Penguins making the playoffs. Hell, I talked to Sidney Crosby before the season, and he wasn't even sure they'd make the playoffs. But now you've got Crosby there through next season. You've got Letang there for the next couple of seasons, and you've got Evgeny Malkin, who's an unrestricted free agent this summer. And this trio, the names I just mentioned, have the North American pro sports record for the most games played together, most seasons rather played together as a trio. And you wonder whether or not maybe there's a chance that last night was the last time we'll see them as a trio. It's possible.
Right.
Bill Armstrong gets a lot of credit, and I think justifiably so, but I want your opinion on this. On the personnel moves he's made, it seems like there's a long string of wins. But our experience is that nobody bats 1,000. So first off, do you buy the premise? And then second off, what do you think of the Peterka Dome? Is that going to be something where maybe both teams think they win? Was that one that maybe as many good calls as he's made, he wants one back? What do you think?
I think that's a tough trade to analyze because I truly don't think that Peterka has been put in a position to excel on the Mammoth, if I'm being honest with you. Like, you look at the reductions in his ice time at 5-on-5. You look at what he was playing on the power play last year for Buffalo versus his power play time during the regular season for Utah. There's something going on there with the coach and Peterka that I think has kind of dulled the impact that he could have, because I think he's a really good player. I don't know if it's a situation where, Andre's got his guys that he likes and he feels that Peterka was kind of foisted upon him because of this trade. I don't know what the situation is, but there's clearly some kind of malfunction in JJ's integration into this lineup. And so it's hard to really assess the deal. I know that there's definitely probably some people that are like, shoot, man, look what Josh Stone's doing with Buffalo. We can have that one back. But I'm really curious as to how this situation can maybe be rectified or how it plays out, because his first season in Utah was definitely a disappointment, not only from a statistical standpoint, and not only what he's not done in the playoffs, but in general, like what his role ended up being on the team.
You buy the premise about the rest of it, though, about Bill's putting together quite the record here? You buying that?
Insofar as like what he's built on this roster
with the draft picks.
Yeah, with the draft picks and the
no,
Sergachev acquisition and, the moves he's made as he builds this up from, nowhere.
Oh, yeah, no, I think he's done real well. I mean, and there's obviously still room to improve. And that, they can take a look at how far they advance in these playoffs and get a better sense of what needs to be here. But when you in a salary capped league, the best way to try to build out your roster is from within. You don't want to be a team that has to be overly reliant on the trade deadline year after year to bring in guys that play certain roles. Like if you can find the cheap labor of young players and prospects to come up through your system and fill out your lineup, then you're doing it the right way. They all can't be the Florida Panthers who just were in like supermarket sweep and got all these guys from all over the place and ended up winning a couple cups. More likely you're going to be like the old Lightning teams that had a bunch of homegrown guys filling out your lineup. So I like the moves that Bill has made for the most part, but I really like the fact that he's kept his powder dry insofar as how many young players are still in the pipeline at almost every level, whether it's the NCAA or Canadian Junior or wherever. It seems like the Mammoth have prospects that are thriving.
You wonder, it becomes tricky, because they got rid of Doan in the trade, and we'll see how that plays out. I don't think you can judge it one single year, but certainly Josh's better days are ahead of him, and we'll see what happens coming back next year with the guy they got back. And how do you know when to go for it all or keep holding on to these things? I think that's tricky to be, no matter what position, a general manager, whatever their title is in whatever sport, to know what to do. And I think that's going to me, that's a fascinating story that could determine the level of success for this franchise. I think they're going to have success, but to what degree depends on what they do. How do you respond to that?
That is an amazingly good point. And I always think about one team in particular when that subject comes up, and that's the Los Angeles Kings. They won 2 Stanley Cups in the last decade. And that happened because they reached that inflection point of, we're really good. We have some really, really good young players, but we don't feel like we've got the guys that have the experience or maybe just the overall game to get us over the hump. So they end up trading a couple guys in Wayne Simmons and Braden Shen, 2 guys that have had incredible NHL careers since then, for Jeff Carter and Mike Richards from the Philadelphia Flyers. 2 really good players, but also 2 guys that have that sort of edge to them, that play that nasty bit of playoff hockey that you need. And so there was a boldness in that move, but ultimately the boldness resulted in them being able to win a couple of Stanley Cups. So you're absolutely right. Like, there will come a point where Bill will have to look at this roster and ownership will have to look at this roster and say, what is the piece that we're missing? What is the thing that gets us over the hump? Is it a guy that's won before? Is it a guy that just plays with a little bit of nastiness that we don't have? And they're going to have to figure out what pieces they want to deal for that player.
Was that an amazingly good point, or was that just one Jersey guy trying to make another Jersey guy look good? What?
No, man. Because again, like it comes to the problem with a lot of GMs in this league, and I don't know if it's hockey specific or not, but they fall in love with their guys too much. Yeah. And there's
that's an old story in sports. That's an old story in sports.
For sure. And like there's a term that we use in writing all the time when you've, and by you've I mean Neve, written like 5,000 words and you love them all, but you have to eventually kill your darlings, they say. And like, you got to get rid of some of those words because no one wants to read a 5,000 word story. So in hockey, it's the same way. It's like, you've got all these prospects, you've got all these picks. At some point, you're going to have to let some of them go to really improve your team. And then, why these guys get paid the big bucks is, did they trade the right prospects and did they acquire the right player to get a team like Utah over the hump?
Well, I spent 23 years in newspapers, so I understand what you're saying. And the good thing now is we don't have to worry about the jump as much because it's all online. And so that could lead to maybe the eyeballs carrying a little longer in the story. So we'll see what happens there. But before,
Now you got to worry about somebody who you really want to stare at your phone for 5,000.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's it. The phone versus a computer. That's another story. Yeah,
I would advise 3 1,700-word stories, and you link them, and then you get to tell your editor, "Yeah, I got one. I got another one for you tomorrow. I got one. It'll be posted tonight." And you just keep cranking them out.
I regret to inform you that my job is now taking the 5,000-word story and making a 90-second video about it. So
that's a true story right there.
I'll hit you up with one more jersey question. You got 4 or 5 days off, right? And it's in July. You going to Ocean City, Maryland, or Ocean City, New Jersey?
Well, the first answer is I'm going to Mammoth Park Racetrack, where I was raised as a kid, basically, and where I had my first cigar. And
I've been there a time or two.
Yeah, man, it's a horse racetrack where they haven't had to put in slot machines, and like if you've got that, then you've got something beautiful. But yeah, I'm a Jersey Shore guy. I think Ocean City, New Jersey is beautiful.
Nice.
I mean, I grew up right near the Highlands, right near Point Pleasant. I mean, I was a Jersey Shore kid, so that's my experience. And I will say this to bring it to Jersey one more time. I covered the new New Jersey Devils general manager, Sonny Mehta, his press conference, and he referred to it as Taylor ham and not pork roll. And it warmed my heart.
Well, that's North Jersey right there, man.
I know, that is New Jersey. That is the Great War in New Jersey. Is this really strange meat product. The Civil War in New Jersey is whether you call it pork roll or Taylor ham. I'm a Taylor ham kid.
Well, it depends on where you're from.
I got some. Yeah, it's all about where you're from, exactly. So I was heartened that me and the New Jersey Devils general manager on the same page.
It's funny you say that. My wife asked me last night, "Do you want an English muffin for breakfast when I get home today?" And I said, "Only if I have tailored ham on it." No.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, it's a bizarre little meat product, but it's very Jersey. He said something in his press conference that also really stuck with me, which is that, like, when you're from New Jersey, and you'll understand this, you don't refer to yourself as black or white or rich or poor or young or old. You're just from Jersey. Like, that's your identification in life, and I think you probably understand what I'm saying there.
I've never let it go, even though I'm living here in Utah, of all places.
Well, he's going to remember this interview for all the Jersey talk. I'm going to remember this interview because I'd never heard anyone say we've written, or I should say me've written.
I thought I was listening to Karl Malone there for a second.
The contraction of me have. That is a brilliant move by you, Greg, and I will not forget it.
Yeah, the 5,000th word in that story was me've. So that's it. That's what got me over the hump.
English teachers everywhere are just getting a shiver down their spine now, and they don't know why. But it's because that was just thrown out into the universe. Greg, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on and talking hockey with us, and thanks for staying up till 2 a.m. to track the Mammoth.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks for having me, boys.
All right. Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN. DJ and PK, Chris Level, Texas Tech analyst and sideline reporter, host of Locked On Texas Tech, is going to join us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour to talk Big 12 football and what are the Red Raiders going to do. What is the most likely scenario for them headed forward? Heavy favorites to win the league, but now it looks like they might be missing that quarterback they just spent a lot of money on. So we'll talk with Chris coming up in about half an hour right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCombe.
Joining us now, he is the owner of the Utah Jazz and the Utah Mammoth. Ryan, we can't thank you enough for hopping on with us.
My goal is to bring a championship to Utah, and we haven't had one. I want to hang a banner, and if it means that we have to do stuff a little harder, okay. But we're not going to tiptoe in to go beat San Antonio and OKC. Like, we're not going to tiptoe in. Like, we're going to have to do it the right way and build the right way. That's going to be what it's going to take, and you never know. But I just try to put the smartest people around, and I just feel like we're super lucky that we got this group. I'll just be honest, if they agree on things, I'm probably not going to stand in the way on anything that they come to, and that's typically how you want it. We've got really, really smart people here who also have that level of expectation, but all this is talk. We got to go do it.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Join Scotty G and the coach tomorrow from 10 to 2. Next Gen Motors grand opening at their new location, 590 North State Street in Linden. PK, I know how much you love to talk about games and how much you love to talk about money, but do we need to talk about money right now instead of games, given the news out of the Big 12?
Yeah, money.
Money, 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 money. Sing it.
Makes the world go round, man. It's a big, big deal. Bigger than ever in college sports.
I think that there's one scenario we did not talk about earlier this morning.
Go ahead.
So the Big 12 has a deal with Redbird Capital.
Yeah.
And schools can opt in and get a credit line for $30 million each. Should they do it? Now, they did not sell, nor are they looking to buy, part of schools' athletic departments or a conference. That was put out there, and all the people who've worked for private equity, raise your hand. I'm raising my hand right now. And did that scare you? Yes, raise your hand. Yes, absolutely. But that is not what they did. They didn't sell part of athletic departments or part of the conference. It's a credit line, as Yock said. Just imagine a credit card for $30 million. The interest is apparently down.
You've seen my wife. I don't need to imagine it.
Hey-o, a little under 10%, which is still a pretty big number. So where we came down earlier, PK, for me, especially if you're doing some kind of big project, you're rebuilding a stadium arena, something that ought to generate more money down the line, I get it. I can see the advantage there. Now, if you're using it on NIL, I guess it could work. You could buy a couple players that really spin your program around, but that scares me. That seems like you're spending a lot of money and thinking that's going to pay off in the long run. Sure, it might, but to me it seems unlikely. And your big point was don't think this is immediately going to change your place in the food chain and put yourself right up at the top with these schools that are $150 to $250 million athletic departments, and they are just flying. Don't think that you can suddenly trump 50, 75, 100 years of their accomplishments. The Notre Dames and Ohio States and Michigans and USCs, when they get it right and they're on their A game, you probably can't beat them. Now, they're not always on their A game, and you can beat them when they're on their C game or their B game, as Utah showed in the Pac-12 against USC, as we've seen both BYU and Utah have good records against Oklahoma, Texas, Michigan, whatever the school. You can look them up. Over time, they got pretty good records. Well, they played them when they weren't on their A game.
Right.
What about if they spend this money on coaches, PK? Because coaches come and go, but a really good coach can flip a program. You always go back to the Lute Olson quote, get your tickets now because you're not going to be able to pretty quickly. And he changed the trajectory of Arizona basketball. So if teams use money on that, it's not as long-term an investment as building a new stadium or arena that you know can generate the money. It's probably a better investment than spending on a player who might only be there a year or two, but there is that risk with coaches. They do hop around. We can look at what's happening at Utah State basketball. What do you think?
I think that that's a possibility that you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, right? And I don't know that necessarily it's either you take the whole $30 million or you get nothing.
My guess is no, but I haven't read it, so I don't know. But my guess is no.
Right. So who you have, and like a Morgan Scalley, and a Kalani Sitake for that matter. We just take two local kids who now we have. What I say kids because I'm going back to when they were kids.
We knew them when they were kids.
And they played there. They were kids when they were playing there, right? You had two guys that if you would have told them at 12 years old, I'm going to give you a scholarship and you're going to play at BYU, they would have said, absolutely, I've reached the pinnacle. This is where I want to be. I don't want to be anyplace else. Right? We know that. Morgan has talked about that. Kalani's talked about that. And so suppose it came down, and this is an example that just happened in December. Penn State was there. It was a great opportunity, and all three of us were sitting right there in the football facility on the football level there in the student-athlete building and all that, where he said, I'm a competitor. what he was saying is, if they didn't increase the offer, I'm a BYU guy, but I'm a competitor. And if they didn't increase the offer to where I thought it was acceptable, the way I read into it, there was a good chance that I was gone. And Jay Hill would have been the head coach. And who knows what would have happened from there. But the money came up to where it was acceptable, and he decided to stay. So there could be those situations here. And Morgan Scalley, if Morgan Scalley goes 35-5 in the next 4 or 5 years, he's going to get offers. And people are going to come calling. It doesn't matter who you are. The fact that you're an alumnus and all that stuff. And so you may have to up the offer. And who knows in 5 years what the numbers are going to be? Is it going to be $15 million a year? I mean, who knows? And so you may be able to tap into that. And it could be a long-term investment in terms of, okay, now he's going to stay for the next, depending on how old he is. In the case of Scally, he's in mid-40s, I think 46 years old. It could be for the next 15 years. He could coach until he's 65 if he gets that type of offer in 5 years. You can go down to Tempe. I mean, his name, Dillingham, has been floated around like 25 different times since he had the big season, right? And he took the literally the 3 worst years in the program, and in 2 years, he had him in the playoff. And it's remarkable. And he just turned 36 2 days ago. And so he's certainly going to get offers. And if they can use that, sure, if that might be the wisest investment you could possibly make in your program, depending on how the situation is, right? I think if you got a local guy, and those are 3 examples, and they're all local guys. He didn't play college football. He didn't play anywhere. He didn't even play high school football. He got hurt. But he spoke about how his sister lives literally right across the fence. His parents live 5 doors down, blah, blah, blah. So the ties can't run any deeper. And we saw that with Whittingham. The ties were really, really deep into Utah. He didn't decide to leave Utah. They decided for him, and then he left. And away he's gone. And he's doing his thing in Michigan. And I've been exchanging texts with him almost on a daily basis here. And so, that's who he is now. But he had opportunities. We know he had opportunities. I know it. Everybody knows it. But the hometown and what it meant to him and his family prevailed, and you may need that. So I think that's an excellent point. I wouldn't just say no, well, we're not going to do that because that's not what we do. Because who knows what's down the line in 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years.
Nobody does. And to your point, Utah State's athletic director was just talking about how he sees proposals for what is going to be happening in the 2030s. And he says it's like every day there's another proposal. And some of them, his point was that some of them, it's really, they're going to tweak it. It's going to be a very select group of teams, and they're going to do their own thing. And then other times it's a much larger group of teams, and it isn't a complete breakaway. It's basically everything's on the table. Right. And then not only his school, but his conference are going to have to react to that. Presumably, they're going to be on the outside of at least part of it from a football perspective. But there's all kinds of thoughts about what might happen with the NCAA tournament. And
football,
you can go
basketball.
on YouTube and
Football or basketball?
Scotty G with the NCAA basketball tournament. And it's in the middle of the interview. Cameron Walker did an interview with Scotty G and I for an Aggie podcast for about 30 minutes. And it's in the middle of it. And he was talking about really anything could happen. He literally sees the proposals, and it's all over the board right now. And then the commissioner, and you got to say this about Yormark, even if he, annoys you with the way he talks and preens sometimes, he keeps pushing basketball. And I just read a story that said the basketball tournament is holding together, and that there are now multiple people in key positions who think it's undervalued, that it is going to be worth so much money when that deal comes up. And that could really shape whether there's a breakaway, what it looks like, because people are eyeing that basketball tournament thinking, It's worth something now, and we like it, but it could really be worth something on the open market because these sports properties are going for top dollar, and that thing is still producing.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds good, but I think you're pushing.
Not buying it?
No, not completely, because what's his name, Walker? He's going to push that because they got no chance to win in a college football playoff, but they got a chance to win a game.
Oh yeah,
or two.
but he didn't push the basketball tournament. That I read separately.
Okay, well, your mark is doing it because
your mark is
because that's where he has a chance to make a splash. Ask him, would you rather push the football or the basketball? I guarantee he'd say football, but he's got to push the basketball. He thinks he's got a clever line. We're the second best basketball in the world, second best basketball league. What he'd really like to say is we're the second best football league in the world, but he can't.
No, you can't say that. And even the basketball argument has fallen apart just over the last 3 years.
But it's a quip. Yeah. And then the reason why the other commissioners don't say it, the Big Ten and the SEC don't say it, because they got football. That's why. Or else they would say it too. So I think play your strength, and that's what he's playing. And that's what he's going at. The former athletic director at ASU, when they were sucking, well, we have a comprehensive athletic program. Nobody gives a crap. They care about football. Your football team sucks. You made a horrible hire. Well, we sponsor the most sports, 26, and my gosh, our swimming and diving team, great. Who cares? They care. Those people care who are involved. But the general public who's given money doesn't care. Because he couldn't pump football because Herm Edwards was a cheater and was way over his head. So he had to go with what he was talking about. What was his strength? Well, talk that. You don't want to talk your weakness. So, yeah, I mean, sell that. I don't want to undersell it, but it's still not the big dog.
The football is the big dog. There's no doubt about it. But if you start showing people a way to make a lot more money, they can get pretty interested in a basketball tournament.
Sure, and don't discount that. But not at the expense. Don't ever pump money into basketball at the expense of football.
Right. But the question is, do Fox and the Big Ten think, hey, if we can get a few SEC schools on board, we go to 32 teams, we just become it. We are it. We replace the NCAA with one mega conference. The other conferences can exist. We're not a monopoly, but we get all the big dogs. And I've read all this stuff. Why did they start the Crown basketball tournament? Which on the surface makes no sense because they're going to pull out of the NCAA basketball tournament. Now that, to me, that thing has been there my whole life, and it's a little hard for me to visualize that happening. But there's so many things that have happened that I couldn't visualize happening. Why not one more?
Let them do it, and it's for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's all you got. Football's where it's at, and that's where you need to put all your emphasis, not all your emphasis, but 90% of your emphasis.
Yes.
And your mark, he wants to spin the conversation because they don't have anybody who's won a game in the playoff in football. The second, and at some point they're going to, then he'll be touting that. As my mother would say, mark my words. She made tailored ham for me for breakfast.
I know you're right about that. When he has a football win to talk about, he won't shut up. That's their job, to sell their league, and as soon as he has a chance to sell that, he will. Period. Right. Exclamation point, whatever you want, he will.
Yeah. And I think that can be done. I think that gap can be closed.
Really close. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good football league. Especially, it goes deep. It goes deeper than, not necessarily every year, but some of the other two big conferences, and then put the ACC in there. And they need to keep working on it and pushing for it. I mean, there's enough players. They're getting players that the recruits that come to BYU, Utah, whomever in this league. They've got SEC and Big Ten offers. It's not like it's a bunch of Big Sky guys, and that's not it at all. I mean,
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Logos are in the news. AJ Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson. We will get to that next, and we're headed to Texas Tech. What are the Red Raiders going to do at quarterback? How is this going to impact the Big 12 race and their playoff dreams? We'll get to that at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do-or-die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
DJ and PK brought to you in part by Tim Dolly Mazda. Join Scott G and the coach today from 10 to 2 at Tim Dolly Mazda, 10785 South Automall Drive in Sandy. Well, PK, you posted the dueling logos. Players have to have logos now. It's all about the brand. Who has the better logo, AJ Dybantsa or Darryn Peterson? Ethan Dybantsa, and it's not even close, LOL. He knows what he did right there. Way to go, Ethan. Jake says, AJ, no contest. And then Alex says, DPs is bad, both from a design aspect, lines have varying widths, a weird shape, trapezoid, and the image looks like he's sitting on a bench. AJ, less is more, way more crisp. AJ by a bleeping landslide. And plenty of people have pointed out, why in the world would you have a logo of DP sitting on the bench when that's been the criticism of him for the last year? Seems a little tone deaf there on the design.
Well, because you can see the DP easier. Now, I had to see an explanation of the AJ and how they put an AJD. I had to look at it like, what am I looking at? And then I saw somebody said, well, I'll explain it. And I saw, okay, I get the A and I can get the G, the J, I should say, but I don't get the D. So that's why I put the picture. If you put the picture of AJ holding the basketball with his left hand and then goes together, then I get it. The DP is kind of cool. You can see the DP.
Right.
And he is sitting on a folding chair there. But this, and I get that. But see, if he goes to the NBA and lights it up, that storyline from the college is going to go, he was just protecting the investment. Look at him go, man. This young man, he's awesome. He's the next Kobe.
If he does it, that'll be the storyline. Right. He looks deep. He looks like he's deep in thought.
The thinking man.
Yes.
if they moved he only shows like his right arm. If they moved it like with the left and put it under his chin,
it'd be famous art. Well, throw that out there. There's still time to change it.
He'd probably be getting sued for copyright infringement at that point.
Yeah, but isn't there some rule like after 75 or 100 years it goes into the public domain?
Sure, but
you wouldn't
and that
do
thing
that
is
anyway.
Like, what is that, 400 years old or something?
But I like the DP is clearly recognizable.
It is
you would
clearly
see that, right?
Honestly, I still don't. I'm going to need someone. Art and art history, not my thing. I've got college grades to prove.
And I love my art. Everybody knows
you
that.
Do. So
you
you're
get
have to
me in an
it.
art museum, I'll see you 4 hours from now.
You'll have to explain it to me because I don't see all of that.
I saw the explanation. You can go look. It was on social media.
Okay. I'll go find it. I'll try to figure that out.
Yeah. And then when you need like a table of contents or something, and when you have that, and you think, oh, okay, yeah, all right. But it does need explanation. But that's why his picture's got to be attached to it, because to me, when I looked at it, that's a black and white logo of the Houston Astros?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody did make a Chrysler joke in there. It does look like the Chrysler logo.
Okay, I'm not a car guy, but sure, I can see that. Chrysler, yeah, it's sort of. I drive a Pinto, so I don't know anything about
right?
that.
Old car company.
Yeah, that's
I
after.
do remember seeing it watching games though, because they advertised in a million games.
When I traded in my Vega, I got a Pinto, so that's what I'm rolling with. But I think to me it's a little confusing. If you want to mock the Peterson sitting on the bench, which he could have had 10 games of 50 points. But, man, he sat on the bench.
If he had 10 games of 50 points, we'd be talking about that, but he didn't.
Well, he could have, and it still would have been he only played 12 games.
When he was in and he was rolling, he looked awesome. If you can get that player, you're loving it.
Well, I'm not going to assign somebody a lifelong career based on when they're 18, 19 years old. And
GMs are going to have to make decisions
they
based
will.
on it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be able to talk that through and meet with the guy and find out what's his story. I mean, you're not drafting him exclusively because of his talent. You're drafting him based on the interactions that you've had with him and who are his people, who are folks that are close to him, who's influencing him. We've talked about how Dennis Lindsey did that. You have to do that, man. You have to go as far as you needed to go.
Yep.
That's why back in the day when I was a beat writer and the Utes were good, I'd literally have general managers would call me. They'd call me at my house. Nobody had cell phones then. And they would call me, what do you know about this kid? And we know the kids. And they'd ask me, they never asked me, what do I think of his hesitation dribble? I mean, they don't need to ask me that. I could answer that because I covered him, and I think I know a fair amount of the game. No, but you can
answer how a kid carries himself in an
what
interview,
do his
how
teammates
he carries himself
think of
in
him?
an airport, in an airplane,
Yeah.
that kind of human interaction, how he treats people.
Right.
Does he look you in the eye?
Right.
Can you coach him hard?
Yeah.
The first time somebody raises his voice, does he duck his head and go away for a week?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
I would get that after the season, and then you'd get it during the season in the media room before the games. Yeah. And I got to know some of those guys because Jerry Colangelo's son, Brian, used to be on the scouting beat. Remember a guy named John Shoemate? Yeah. I can remember Dick Van Arsdale of the Suns.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. These guys, they find out who you are. And I assume beat writers still have a level of stature. Certainly we did in the heyday of newspapers. And so they'd want to know, what do you know about the kid?
They want to know anybody who interacts with them in daily life. There's stories about basketball coaches who know the receptionist at every school because it's somebody who interacts with the kid.
Yes.
What's the kid's attitude when he walks in? Your wife's a PE teacher. Okay, what's the kid's attitude? Because
she got hit up on that constantly.
The field, whatever. Yeah. Anybody who interacts with them, they want to know.
She was down there at Corner Canyon the other day. She had to go down there, and they got this beautiful field house, and she knows the coach, Casey Sutera, who was at Brighton and went back to Corner. She's known him for years. We've known the family. She worked with them, and he took her through the field house, and they have an area that is up top, and it's called VIP area. And as I understand it, what I was told, not by him, but by somebody else, that's for the college scouts when they come through.
Nice. Wow. All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break. When we come back, Texas Tech football. Easily tabbed as the favorite. They were clearly going to be the favorite going into the season. But Sorsby, is he available? Is he out? Is he all done? What's happening to quarterback? Where do the Red Raiders go from here? Chris Level, sideline reporter and host of Locked On Texas Tech, joins us next. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.